Hello, everyone. So I realized that I missed Mental Health Awareness Week. I actually thought it was like last week, and I guess it was like the week before last week. So, start of this video is kind of late, but nonetheless, I'm still going to be talking about my own personal experience with mental health issues. So, starting off, when I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with depression. I was really struggling. It was my first, it came on like the summer before my freshman year of high school. And I ended up going to a high school that wasn't within like the district that I went to middle and elementary school in, which was a religious school. So I was going to a public school, and it was really difficult because I didn't really know anyone, and I was sort of like the new girl. There wasn't many people who were like new to the district, to this particular school that were coming in starting in high school. And so I was really just kind of lonely, and I just didn't really even try to make friends. I just kind of kept to myself. I was very into reading. I always had my nose in a book. I was a voracious reader, and I just sort of did my own thing. I didn't really care about making friends. I didn't make an effort. I didn't join clubs. I didn't have any activities that I was into. So I was very isolated, and it was a really hard time in my life because I just didn't really care about very much. And then after I was diagnosed, which I was diagnosed in the spring of my freshman year, and I went on Prozac, and I started to feel better. I started to feel happier. It was kind of a weird experience though, just because I was feeling happier, but it didn't really make sense because there weren't like actual cognitive reasons. I knew it was just the medication. And I ended up struggling a little more about a year and a half later. I had some really good developments. That was when I kind of first got into community activism when I was a sophomore, so like the next year. And from there, it led me to my feminist activism and all of the things that I do now. But I was, depression's always still been an issue. It's still something I've struggled with kind of on and off. I've relapsed like several times. And it's definitely an issue. And along with that, I also have a mood disorder, which is the best way I can explain it. It has to do with anxiety, but it's not as severe as being bipolar, but it's in that same realm, if that makes sense. Kind of having like very extreme highs and lows. It just doesn't come with some of the other facets of bipolarism, like mania, for example. So like that's not something I experience, but I still experience like the very highs and the very lows. So that was something I was diagnosed with when I was about 17, I think my like junior year of high school. And then I was diagnosed with an eating disorder when I was last year, when I had like just turned 19, about that time. So those are kind of like my three mental health issues, like overarching, is depression, having mood disorder, and having eating disorder. So, mental health is definitely something that I personally struggle with. And it's been really difficult, especially being in a family that doesn't really struggle with those things. No one in my family really has mental health issues. I'm also adopted, which adds another layer to it. My maternal grandmother, who I'm related to biologically, she suffered with alcoholism and bipolar disorder for years and years and years, and she actually died as a result of those illnesses. And that's really the only mental health stuff that exists on my genetic side, and I know that's where I get it from. But it can be very lonely, especially growing up in a family where that wasn't really an issue, and I was sort of the only one that struggled with that stuff. And so I dealt with a lot of people, just like not really understanding where I was coming from or what I was dealing with. I dealt definitely with a lot of like stereotypes, or people especially just like wanting me to get over it, or thinking like there was a quick fix solution. Like even the medication, like my parents I think kind of treated it as a quick fix, like, oh, I would just go on the medication and the depression would be like over. And that's not how it works. It doesn't work like that. It's not a light switch. So I dealt with a lot of those struggles, and it was really hard and it was very lonely. And my family wasn't very emotionally open, kind of on top of that. They weren't really open about talking about those kind of things. So I never really had an outlet other than like therapy to really discuss any of it. So I know how hard it is and I know it can feel very lonely, but you should know if you're struggling with mental health issues that you are really never alone. There are so many other people who struggle with mental health issues. I think something like 1 in 3 people struggles with a mental health issue. So it's very common. It's not something that makes you weird or a freak or whatever. It's just, it makes you normal. Like having a mental health illness is like having any other physical illness. It's just something that is there, and it doesn't really define you as a person or make you bad. It's not a bad thing even necessarily. It's just a thing. Like even though depression like seems like a bad thing, it's really just a thing. And it's harder as it is to sometimes look at it that way and not be really just overwhelmed with everything and looking at like all of these barriers and just not even knowing how you're going to conquer the next day, let alone like the rest of your life. Know that there are people who can help you, and that reaching out and asking for help and support makes you that much stronger and will only help you in the long run. Trying to juggle it all by yourself, you don't need to. There's no need for it, and you can have a support system. You can have people who are there who will help you, who are trained professionals, whose job it is to help you and who care about you. It's never your fault, and you're never alone, truly, in your struggle. There are lots of other people going through it. And that's why we need to start talking about it, because there is still so much stigma around mental health stuff, and it keeps people quiet and it keeps all of this stuff in the dark, because I guarantee a lot of people who have struggled with mental health issues. You might just not know about it because our society has this taboo around it, so people just don't really talk about it very openly. So I just wanted to let you know that, I'm here. There are so many people who are there for you in your struggles. And I'm going to keep going, even though it's difficult some days. And take care of yourself and put self-care first, and always make sure that you're putting your health first and your sanity first, because that is what's most important in your life. Homework and work and friends and all of these things are always secondary. You're always first. So I just wanted to share that message of support with you. I mean, everyone, including me, is here with you in solidarity, and I'm sending you much love.